Hey gang, and cheers from Ed over at Antique Toys. We have part two of the motorcycle review. Again, Jay was so kind to lend us his Fat Cop and motorcycle collection and Thin Cop collection. We're gonna touch on the second part, which is the Hubley and the Champion toys. So these are Kilgore. Check out part one. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss things like part one. And now we're gonna touch on part two. So stay tuned. All right, without further ado, Hubley. Hubley did cop motorcycles really well. In fact, they're ubiquitous. You find that their production is way up there. Some of us joke that you can find a Hubley motorcycle every day, every week, every month, but I consider that just a testament to their great work, their great popularity, and something like this just doesn't come around in the variations we see. I was looking again on length. This is just about 5 inches. So they did a 5-inch Hubley. Call it a slightly junior size when you then compare it to the 7 and what are we looking at here? We're looking at about 7.5-inch version, right? So Papa, Mama, and then Baby. Baby Hubley was more in that midgets line, which is their branding of really small nickel toys, nickel dime toys. This guy was more towards 39. This guy was probably about 29, 1930. And the swivel head, larger Hubley moto was probably 29-ish. Steel wheels, kind of a nice earlier variation from what I can tell. Steel tended to be earlier or later. They did these rubber tires. Now these are nice to demonstrate how in the old days, olive drab was, fit right in with the dark colors, the blacks. But then they started to realize marketing really mattered. And so we have a space for AA battery. This motorcycle with its rubber tires, which tended to be a more modern incarnation, I'd say 30, 31 in the swoosh. You put a battery in here, and then your battery op toy has a lever where it pushes the AA into from grounding at the steel to the filament to allow the electricity to flow, and then the filament lights up. It's a really sweet design, very, very unique, but thin here, thin. Know that they break, and sometimes you just buy them with a brake because, heck, they're nice to have in any condition. You got the finer spokes here. You have a muffler that sometimes breaks. You even have these particular kickstand supports which break. And so, like I said, they did them in olive, they did them in red, and then there's this luxurious tannish orange. We're going to call it orange Scotch M. But the orange color here tends to catch people's eyes. The red, pretty decent populations, and the olive was some of the earlier. So, Hubley, and 6.5 inches, 6 inches, closer to 5s, and then the tinies. All this concept of weird size, weird price points, weird marketing is really apparent when you look at a Champion. So this is a Champion sidecar motorcycle, and again, 3 3/4, 4-inch, but then they said, hey, let's do a slightly more deluxe size. So the 3 3/4-ish is dwarfed, like it looks like it's an accessory size, to one that's just a few inches bigger. That's 6. And that, while this may be 10 cents, that might be 5 cents. This more deluxe is a higher price point. I would think closer to $1. And then you get a slightly bigger moto, where we go from 5 3/4 ish to about 6.5 inch. And it's, you know, this is a variation, and this ends up being 7 and that's 7. These are variations. Solid non-rolling kickstand. I imagine this hooked on sidewalks broke, and they said, ooh, caca-poo-poo, not good, not good. So they put rolling wheels on it. Logical to us, but at that time, you know, they made mistakes. They did a evolution. And here we have a solid wheel. Again, Champion Motorcycle Cop. It's an in-between size. It just kind of fell off the radar here. So 7s-ish, 6 or so, 3, 4 or so, and then this guy's 5 inches. So he fits right in the size flight, if you will, and then the baby fits right in. So Champion is a wonderful, wonderful illustration of how when they did cast iron toys, they all look the same on the internet. You're just sure they're all the same. You got it covered. And then the more you know, the more you realize, oh boy, this is a demon of an area as a collector. So yeah, 3.5-ish, 5-ish, 6-ish, 7-inch, you're in trouble. And then don't go with Hubley, because then there's another size, and let's not go with the with the Hubley swivel head, and let's not even mention Kilgore. So hope you enjoyed this. It is a good intro to the subject of motorcycle cops. Predominantly cast iron, predominantly the solid wheels were early, predominantly the rubber tires were later as a deluxe option. And enjoy. Again, thank you for your attention. Fun subject. Be sure to email us if you have motorcycle toys, especially if you have variations or things we don't have. This is Jay's collection. I happen to like motorcycles. I know a lot of people that love them. So email us, toys@AntiqueToys.com. Be sure to check out AntiqueToys.com, where we do stock as many of these as possible. And check out our swag, like our t-shirts, and be sure to subscribe, please. That really helps us. It allows us to defray the cost where we pay a producer, we pay an editor, and we get to share the fun, get to share the knowledge. Have a great day. Cheers from Ed. Take care.